For centuries, the Amazon has stood in the global imagination as Earth's last great wilderness. A boundless, untamed green ocean, an Eden pristine and largely untouched by human hands. This powerful myth, etched into our collective consciousness, paints a picture of nature in its purest, most formidable form. But what if this cherished vision, this foundational understanding of one of our planet's most vital ecosystems, was profoundly incomplete? What if beneath that dense, verdant canopy lay secrets that challenge everything we thought we knew about both ancient history and the very concept of civilization? Recent archaeological breakthroughs, utilizing revolutionary technologies like LiDAR, are now shattering that long-held myth. They are revealing not isolated settlements, but vast, interconnected urban landscapes hidden in plain sight. These aren't just ancient ruins. They're the sophisticated remains of sprawling garden cities that housed millions, thriving for millennia across an immense, cultivated Amazon. These lost civilizations didn't conquer the rainforest. They co-created with it, engineering an intricate tapestry of sustainable living that modern planners are only beginning to comprehend. Amazon's Lost Garden Cities embarks on an extraordinary journey deep into this reimagined past. We will unearth the ingenious strategies of these ancient eco-urbanists, exploring their advanced agricultural techniques, their mastery of water management, their intricate social structures, and their profound ecological wisdom. From monumental earthworks to revolutionary soil fertility, we will discover how they cultivated abundance without destruction, crafting societies that were both resilient and deeply integrated with nature. Prepare to witness how their visionary approach to sustainable urbanism didn't just survive. It thrived, offering profound, transformative lessons for our urgent modern quest to build truly eco-friendly cities, proving that ancient ingenuity can indeed outsmart modern planning. For centuries, the Amazon has haunted the human imagination, a vast, emerald ocean of trees stretching beyond the horizon. It was a place of myth, mystery, and an enduring misconception that it was a pristine, untouched wilderness, a realm where nature reigned supreme and humanity had made little lasting imprint. This narrative, woven into the very fabric of our understanding, has shaped exploration, conservation, and our own self-perception. From a moment the first European conquistadors, like Francisco de Orellana in the 16th century, navigated its serpentine rivers, their journals spoke of impenetrable forests and hostile tribes, often dismissing any sophisticated organization or large-scale human alteration. They sought gold, not evidence of ancient civilizations, and their gaze was clouded by their own biases and the sheer, overwhelming scale of the rainforest. What they perceived as wild chaos was, in fact, a deeply complex, intricately managed landscape. Orellana himself, in 1542, wrote of many and very large settlements. Yet these observations were largely discredited or forgotten, deemed exaggerations born of fevered dreams in the jungle's oppressive heat. Even into the 20th century, archaeologists and anthropologists largely subscribed to the empty Amazon theory. The acidic soils, the relentless humidity, the perceived lack of durable building materials, all seem to conspire against the notion of large, settled populations. Mainstream science reinforced the idea that only small, nomadic groups could survive in such a harsh environment. We imagined small, isolated tribes living in harmony, leaving no discernible trace. This powerful myth of the Amazon as nature primeval became a cornerstone of environmentalism, paradoxically obscuring the very human ingenuity that had once defined it. But what if this entire perception was wrong? What if the seemingly untouched wilderness was, in fact, a magnificent testament to human ambition, sustainability, and sophisticated urban planning, hidden in plain sight? What if the rainforest itself was not just a natural wonder, but a colossal, living monument to civilizations lost to time, waiting to be rediscovered? Even as the myth of the pristine Amazon solidified, subtle whispers from the earth itself began to challenge it. Long before satellites and advanced technology, a persistent hum of something more complex, something artificial, resonated beneath the dense canopy. These were the echoes of ancient hands, faint but undeniable, that hinted at a different story. A story told in earth and stone, whispered through generations. Indigenous oral histories, passed down through countless generations, spoke of the old ones, powerful ancestors who built great cities and moved mountains. Tales from the Matsas, the Kayapo, and the Ina peoples often recounted a past far grander and more populous than colonial accounts ever acknowledged. These stories, once dismissed as mere folklore, held kernels of truth, preserving memories of forgotten empires that mainstream science was only beginning to grasp. Imagine the knowing smiles of elders, who for centuries watched outsiders stumble through what they knew was a deeply humanized landscape. Archaeologists, even with rudimentary tools, occasionally stumbled upon enigmatic earthworks. In the vast savannas of Llanos de Mojos in Bolivia, early 20th century explorers documented vast networks of raised agricultural fields, intricate causeways, and monumental mounds, clear evidence of large-scale human engineering. But without context, these were often viewed as isolated curiosities, not part of a larger, coherent system. Similar discoveries of geometric geoglyphs in Acre, Brazil, often sprawling across acres of deforested land, beg the question, who built these? And why? These were not the fleeting marks of nomadic hunter-gatherers. These were the indelible signatures of organized, settled societies. From the 1970s onwards, researchers like Anna Roosevelt in Brazil unearthed evidence of complex pottery, large settlements, and extensive human-made soil layers, particularly along the lower Amazon. Her work at sites like Marajo Island revealed sophisticated societies with elaborate burial mounds and rich artistic traditions dating back thousands of years. These scattered pieces of a puzzle, these intriguing anomalies, slowly chipped away at the entrenched narrative, stirring a profound curiosity about what truly lay beneath the verdant blanket of the Amazon. The stage was set, not for a simple discovery, but for a revolution in our understanding. For centuries, the Amazon's densest secret lay protected by its most formidable guardian, the rainforest canopy itself. The sheer impenetrable density of the trees made traditional ground surveys a Sisyphean task, a never-ending battle against vegetation, terrain, and time. But then, a game-changer arrived, a technological marvel capable of digitally peeling back layers of the forest, revealing the ancient world beneath with breathtaking clarity. That technology was LiDAR. LiDAR, or light detection and ranging, works on a remarkably elegant principle. Mounted on aircraft, a LiDAR scanner emits millions of rapid laser pulses towards the ground. Crucially, many of these pulses can penetrate tiny gaps in the canopy, reaching the forest floor. When a pulse strikes an object, a tree branch, the ground, or an ancient building, it reflects back to the sensor. By precisely measuring the time it takes for each pulse to return, the system can create an extraordinarily accurate, three-dimensional map of the landscape, stripping away the vegetation to reveal the bare earth beneath. Imagine a giant, invisible paintbrush meticulously outlining every contour, every rise, every fall, every human-made alteration, no matter how subtle. Overnight, our understanding of Amazonian history was transformed. What LiDAR revealed was not isolated settlements, but vast, interconnected urban landscapes. The technology unveiled complex systems of roads, monumental plazas, intricate agricultural terraces, and defensive structures, all meticulously engineered and hidden for centuries by the relentless growth of the jungle. It was like discovering an entire continent of lost cities, not in desert sands, but buried alive beneath an emerald ocean. This wasn't just about finding ruins. It was about rewriting history. LiDAR allowed archaeologists to see patterns and scales of human habitation that were simply impossible to detect from the ground or even with conventional aerial photography. It provided irrefutable evidence that the Amazon was not a pristine wilderness, but a colossal, human-shaped garden, a testament to ancient civilizations that had mastered their environment on a scale previously unimaginable. The echoes in the earth were no longer whispers. They were a booming chorus, singing of forgotten ingenuity. Among the torrent of revelations unleashed by LiDAR, one discovery stands as a towering testament to Amazonian urbanism: the ancient metropolis of the Upano Valley in eastern Ecuador. Here, nestled at the foot of the Andes, a landscape once believed to be too rugged and challenging for large-scale, sustained human habitation, LiDAR unveiled something truly extraordinary: a sprawling network of interconnected cities and towns, thriving for over 1,000 years. Archaeologist Stephen Roston and his team, utilizing LiDAR technology, meticulously mapped an area covering over 300 square kilometers. What emerged was not just a collection of villages, but a highly sophisticated, integrated urban system. From around 500 BCE to 600 CE, the Upano people flourished, building over 6,000 rectangular earth mounds, some reaching up to 10 meters in height, creating platforms for homes, ceremonial centers, and defensive structures. These mounds were arranged around vast plazas and linked by an astonishing 25-kilometer network of straight, sunken roads, some up to 10 meters wide, connecting clusters of settlements like arteries and veins. Sites like Quillamope and Quillamake became focal points, revealing distinct residential, agricultural, and ceremonial zones. The sheer scale and complexity were staggering. The Upano people were master engineers, not only shaping the land with precision, but also managing water flow through extensive drainage systems, crucial in the region's heavy rainfall. This wasn't just survival. It was sophisticated, sustainable living on an immense scale, supporting tens of thousands, perhaps even hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. The initial reaction among researchers was a mixture of awe and disbelief. This challenged every preconceived notion about Amazonian development. It demonstrated that large, complex societies weren't limited to the Andes or Mesoamerica. They existed in full urban glory deep within the Amazon itself. The Upano Valley became a powerful symbol, a physical manifestation of a forgotten chapter of human history, a civilization that, for reasons we are still unraveling, vanished, leaving behind only the Earth's silent, magnificent testament to its ingenuity. The Upano Valley, while spectacular, is not an isolated marvel. It is but one vibrant thread in a much larger, continent-spanning tapestry of ancient Amazonian urbanism. As LiDAR and persistent ground archaeology have been deployed across the vast Amazon basin, a consistent and astounding pattern has emerged. Complex, settled societies were not the exception, but the norm, actively shaping their environments in sophisticated and sustainable ways for millennia. Travel west, to the Llanos de Mojos in the Bolivian Amazon, and you encounter the intricate landscapes of the Cassare culture, thriving from 500 CE to 1400 CE. Here, LiDAR has confirmed what early explorers only hinted at: an astonishing network of artificial mounds, reservoirs, canals, and raised agricultural fields covering thousands of square kilometers. These ingenious earthworks not only managed the seasonal floods, but transformed vast swathes of savanna into highly productive farmland, sustaining populations estimated in the hundreds of thousands. These societies were masters of hydrological engineering, creating a garden of abundance in a challenging floodplain environment. Journey northeast into Brazil, to the headwaters of the Xingu River, and you find the remains of ancient ring villages of the pre-Columbian Zinguano culture, flourishing from around 1250 CE to the 17th century. These sites reveal large, circular plazas surrounded by residential compounds, all connected by broad, straight roads that stretch for kilometers through the forest. The Zinguano people practiced a sophisticated form of agroforestry, creating forest islands and managing diverse ecosystems to provide food, medicine, and building materials, demonstrating an incredible understanding of ecological balance. From Marajo Island in the east to the Alto Mayo Valley in Peru, from the Guianas to the Pantanal, similar stories are being unearthed. These discoveries dismantle the myth of the pristine wilderness entirely, revealing an Amazon that was profoundly humanized, a vibrant mosaic of diverse cultures, each with unique architectural and agricultural innovations. They were not just surviving in the rainforest. They were creating a sustainable future within it, a testament to human ingenuity that challenges our modern assumptions about progress and environmental impact. If these cities were so vast, so interconnected, so enduring for millennia, why did they disappear? Why did the Amazon return to what appeared to be an untouched wilderness? The answer is a tragic and devastating chapter in human history, the arrival of Europeans and the biological catastrophe that followed. Beginning in the late 15th and early 16th centuries, European explorers and colonizers inadvertently unleashed a silent, invisible terror upon the Americas. Isolated for thousands of years, indigenous populations had no immunity to old-world diseases like smallpox, measles, influenza, and bubonic plague. When these pathogens reached the Amazon, they spread like wildfire along the very trade routes and river systems that had once connected these thriving civilizations. The impact was catastrophic, an unparalleled demographic collapse known as the Great Dying. Estimates suggest that within a century or two of European contact, indigenous populations across the Americas plummeted by a horrifying 90% or more. In the Amazon, entire cultures, numbering in the millions, were virtually wiped out. Cities that once pulsed with life fell silent. Agricultural fields, once meticulously maintained, lay fallow. Roads that connected vibrant communities became overgrown. Without the constant human hand to clear, cultivate, and manage, the relentless power of the rainforest began its slow, inevitable reclamation. Trees grew through plazas, roots fractured earth mounds, and the dense canopy closed over once bustling streets. The humid climate and rapid decomposition ensured that most organic materials quickly vanished, leaving little trace of the wooden structures and daily lives of these people. Within generations, the magnificent garden cities were swallowed whole, hidden beneath a verdant shroud, seemingly erased from history. This ecological and demographic transformation was so profound that it profoundly impacted global climate, reducing atmospheric carbon dioxide levels due to massive reforestation. The pristine wilderness that Europeans encountered and subsequently enshrined in myth was not a timeless, untouched landscape, but rather a profoundly transformed one, a ghost landscape, a vast, living memorial to civilizations tragically lost. The forest itself became the silent witness to an epic tragedy, holding the secrets of its former inhabitants in its very soil and understory. The tragic disappearance of these great Amazonian cities raises a crucial question, one that resonates deeply with our modern environmental challenges. How did they thrive for so long? The answer lies in their foundational principles, a profound and symbiotic relationship with the very ecosystem that surrounded them. These ancient people didn't conquer the Amazon. They coexisted with it, viewing the forest not as an enemy to be cleared, but as a dynamic partner to be cultivated and enhanced. Unlike the modern approach of clear-cutting vast tracts for monoculture agriculture, these societies practiced a sophisticated form of agroforestry and forest management. They understood the intricate web of life within the rainforest, strategically planting a diverse array of useful species, creating forest gardens that mimicked natural ecosystems but were far more productive for human needs. They nurtured fruit trees, medicinal plants, root crops, and valuable timber species within the existing forest matrix, enhancing biodiversity rather than diminishing it. This wasn't random planting, it was deliberate, long-term ecological engineering. They created and managed forest islands, enriching certain areas and carefully harvesting resources in a cyclical manner that allowed for regeneration. They understood the delicate balance of nutrients in the soil, the importance of shade, and the role of water cycles. Their cities were often integrated into these managed landscapes, blurring the lines between urban space and cultivated nature. Imagine a city where your food forest begins right at your doorstep, providing sustenance, shelter, and medicine year after year. Their philosophy was rooted in reciprocity and respect. They saw themselves as part of the forest, not separate from it, deriving their sustenance from its bounty while actively contributing to its health and productivity. This deep ecological intelligence, developed over millennia, allowed them to sustain large populations without depleting their resources or destroying the very environment that supported them. In an era grappling with deforestation and climate change, their ancient principles offer a radical, yet timeless, blueprint for sustainable living. Central to the enduring success of Amazonia's garden cities, a cornerstone of their incredible agricultural productivity and sustainable living, was a remarkable invention: terra preta, or Amazonian dark earth. This isn't just fertile soil, it's a testament to ancient chemical engineering, a human-made miracle that remains fertile for centuries, outperforming any natural soil in the region. Terra preta is an extraordinarily rich, dark, carbon-dense soil found predominantly in archaeological sites across the Amazon. Its creation was a deliberate, complex process involving the strategic incorporation of biochar, charcoal derived from burning biomass in a low-oxygen environment, pottery shards, bone fragments, and organic matter like plant waste, food scraps, and human and animal excrement. Over time, through a process still not fully understood, these components created a living soil ecosystem, teeming with beneficial microbes. What makes terra preta truly extraordinary is its self-sustaining fertility. Unlike natural Amazonian soils, which are notoriously poor and quickly depleted, terra preta actively retains nutrients and water. The porous structure of biochar provides an ideal habitat for microorganisms that convert organic waste into stable forms of nutrients, preventing leaching. This means that a plot of terra preta can support intensive agriculture for hundreds, even thousands, of years without the need for artificial fertilizers, a stark contrast to modern industrial farming that quickly degrades soil health. For the ancient Amazonians, terra preta wasn't just soil. It was their black gold, the foundation of their ability to feed vast populations in an otherwise challenging environment. It represents the ultimate closed-loop system. Waste was not discarded, but transformed into a resource, enriching the very land that sustained them. Today, as we grapple with soil degradation, food security, and the urgent need for carbon sequestration, terra preta offers profound lessons. Modern scientists are actively studying its composition, attempting to unlock its secrets to develop sustainable agricultural practices, improve waste management, and even combat climate change through biochar production. The ingenuity of Amazon's lost garden cities continues to inspire, revealing that the path to a sustainable future might just be found by looking to the wise hands of the past. For too long, the Amazon was viewed through a colonial lens, a wild, untamed wilderness. But beneath the canopy, and now, finally, revealed by cutting-edge archaeology, lies a truth far more profound. These ancient Amazonians didn't just survive in the forest. They meticulously engineered it. Their gardens were not the sterile, monoculture fields we associate with modern agriculture. Instead, they were astonishingly sophisticated agroforestry systems, living tapestries woven from countless species, mimicking and enhancing the very ecosystems around them. Imagine walking through what appears to be an untouched primeval forest. Yet, every plant, every tree, has a purpose, a place in a carefully orchestrated symphony of life. Here, the towering canopy might yield Brazil nuts, their rich bounty providing essential fats and proteins. Beneath them, cacao trees would offer their sacred pods, while a vibrant understory teemed with medicinal plants like una de gato or fever-reducing quinine. At ground level, starchy tubers like manioc and yams flourished alongside nitrogen-fixing legumes, enriching the soil and ensuring a continuous cycle of fertility. This multi-layered approach, perfected over millennia, was the ultimate expression of sustainable land use. It protected the delicate soil from erosion, fostered incredible biodiversity, and provided a sustained yield of food, medicine, and materials without ever depleting the forest itself. They understood that the most productive farm was one that looked like a forest, but functioned as a meticulously managed garden, constantly regenerating, constantly providing. This wasn't just farming. It was ecological artistry on a monumental scale, a living testament to humanity's capacity to collaborate with nature rather than conquer it. The discovery of extensive areas of terra preta, or Amazonian dark earth, incredibly fertile soil created and enriched by ancient populations, stands as an enduring monument to this ingenious legacy. For over 1,000 years, from roughly 450 AD to the arrival of Europeans, these engineered forests fed, healed, and sheltered entire civilizations, proving that abundance and ecological harmony are not mutually exclusive dreams, but a tangible, achievable reality. Building upon their mastery of agroforestry, the ancient Amazonians were more than just farmers. They were master botanists, living encyclopedias of the plant kingdom. Their understanding of the forest's botanical resources went far beyond simple cultivation. For millennia, they intentionally selected, crossbred, and propagated a vast array of useful plant species, effectively transforming the entire ecosystem into a living seed bank. This wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate, sophisticated genetic engineering project that unfolded over thousands of years. Imagine generations of knowledge, passed down through oral traditions, encoded in the very landscape. They understood the subtle differences between countless varieties of cassava, some safe to eat raw, others requiring elaborate processing to remove toxins. They identified plants that could repel insects, heal wounds, dye textiles, or provide durable construction materials. From the sturdy timber of the samalma for canoes and homes, to the flexible fibers of palm leaves for thatch and baskets, every element of their material culture was sourced sustainably from their cultivated forest. This deep botanical wisdom wasn't just about survival. It was about thriving. It allowed for resilience in the face of environmental changes, providing diverse food sources during lean times and a pharmacopoeia for every ailment. Archaeological evidence, like pollen analysis and the distribution of specific plant remains, reveals concentrations of economically important species far beyond what natural dispersal would explain, confirming deliberate human intervention. This living seed bank ensured genetic diversity, preventing widespread crop failure and allowing for continuous adaptation. Their legacy is seen today in the incredible genetic diversity of many Amazonian plants, from chili peppers to sweet potatoes, that have spread globally. They didn't just manage the forest, they curated it, ensuring a continuous supply of vital resources for themselves and for future generations, a profound, high-touch approach that stands in stark contrast to our modern, often extractive, relationship with nature. This profound connection to the plant world was not merely utilitarian. It was spiritual, recognizing the inherent wisdom and generosity of the natural world. From the living bounty of their agroforestry systems, we turn our gaze to the urban forms themselves. These ancient Amazonians didn't just tend to the forest. They sculpted the land, creating meticulously planned garden cities that defied previous assumptions about their organizational complexity. Far from being simple, scattered villages, these were sophisticated settlements, often characterized by monumental earthworks, concentric patterns, and expansive ceremonial spaces that speak volumes about their communal values, spiritual beliefs, and even defensive strategies. In regions like the Upper Xingu or parts of Acre, satellite imagery and LiDAR technology are now revealing ghost cities hidden beneath centuries of growth. We see vast circular or semicircular settlements, sometimes kilometers in diameter, etched into the landscape. These aren't random. They often feature radial streets emanating from a central plaza, connecting various residential compounds or community structures. Towering ceremonial mounds, some reaching 20 meters high, serve as elevated platforms for rituals, burials, or even as defensible positions during conflict. The central plazas, meticulously maintained, were the heart of community life, places for gathering, markets, festivals, and sacred ceremonies that reinforce social cohesion and spiritual connection to the cosmos. Consider the geoglyphs of Acre, massive geometric earthworks, sometimes covering hundreds of square meters, whose exact purpose is still debated, but clearly signify an advanced understanding of geometry and collective labor. While some were certainly ceremonial, others likely demarcated territories or served as defensive enclosures. The strategic placement of these cities, often near major river systems but elevated from floodplains, demonstrates an acute awareness of their environment. This was urban planning deeply rooted in the landscape, integrating human habitation with the natural world rather than imposing upon it. Their architecture was not of stone and steel, but of earth and vegetation, designed to endure, adapt, and resonate with the rhythms of the Amazon. It was a testament to a society that valued collective effort, spiritual harmony, and long-term sustainability, leaving behind monumental imprints that only now are we beginning to fully comprehend. In a land defined by its colossal rivers, where annual floods can transform vast plains into inland seas, mastery of water was not just an advantage. It was the bedrock of survival and prosperity. The Amazonian garden cities didn't merely adapt to the dynamic environment. They actively shaped it with ingenious water management systems that rival, and in some way surpass, the complexity of many contemporary solutions. They understood the rhythm of the Amazon, harnessing its power rather than fighting against it. Picture extensive networks of canals, not just for irrigation during dry seasons, but also for drainage during the torrential rains, preventing destructive flooding. These canals, some stretching for kilometers, doubled as vital transportation arteries, allowing canoes laden with goods and people to navigate deep into the landscape, connecting communities and facilitating trade far beyond the main river channels. Alongside these waterways, we find the incredible raised fields or camelones. These elevated agricultural platforms, sometimes stretching for hectares, allowed cultivation even in seasonally flooded areas. By digging trenches and mounding the earth, they created fertile, well-drained plots that remained productive year-round, while the canals between them harbored fish, providing an additional food source and depositing rich silt. Some archaeological sites, like those in the Llanos de Mojos in Bolivia, reveal over 20,000 square kilometers of these earthworks, a testament to their monumental scale and efficacy, dating back as far as 800 BC. Further evidence points to sophisticated reservoirs and dikes, carefully engineered to capture and store rainwater for droughts or to divert floodwaters away from settlements. This integrated approach to water management was a masterclass in hydraulic engineering, demonstrating a profound understanding of hydrology and ecology. It allowed these ancient civilizations to cultivate diverse crops, maintain dense populations, and build resilient societies in an environment that modern planners often deem too challenging. They didn't just build on the water, they built with it, weaving their lives into the very fabric of the Amazon's powerful, life-giving flow. The image of isolated Amazonian tribes, cut off from the wider world, has long persisted. Yet, the evidence from these lost garden cities shatters that misconception. Far from being isolated pockets, these sophisticated societies were intricately interconnected, bound by vast networks of roads, causeways, and riverine routes that facilitated an astonishing level of trade, communication, and cultural exchange. They built highways through the jungle, pathways for goods, ideas, and people, forging a dynamic and integrated social landscape that spanned immense distances. Imagine traversing the dense rainforest on carefully constructed raised causeways, built to remain passable even during seasonal floods. These weren't merely footpaths. Some were wide, engineered thoroughfares, serving as critical arteries for commerce and social interaction. Archaeological surveys have uncovered evidence of extensive road networks in regions like the Beni Savanna of Bolivia, where thousands of kilometers of causeways connect ancient mounds and settlements, dating back possibly 1,500 years ago. These pre-Columbian highways allowed for the efficient transport of goods that were rare in one area but abundant in another. Exotic feathers for ceremonial regalia, polished stone tools from distant quarries, fine ceramics, medicinal plants, and essential commodities like salt, a precious resource in many parts of the Amazon. But the exchange went far beyond material goods. These networks were conduits for the flow of knowledge, technologies, and artistic styles. Ideas about urban planning, agricultural techniques, spiritual beliefs, and even language patterns likely spread across these interconnected routes. The cultural vibrancy revealed by the diversity of pottery styles, burial practices, and artistic motifs across different sites speaks to a rich tapestry of interaction, collaboration, and even competition. This wasn't a monolithic empire, but a decentralized web of interdependent communities, each contributing to and benefiting from a shared regional prosperity. Their connectivity fostered resilience, allowing communities to share resources and knowledge in times of need, painting a picture of a vibrant, dynamic Amazon, bustling with ancient commerce and a profound exchange of human experience. Perhaps the most astonishing lesson from Amazon's lost garden cities isn't just their ingenuity, but their sheer endurance. Unlike many modern urban experiments, often short-lived and resource-intensive, these ancient settlements thrived for centuries, some for millennia, persisting through periods of climate change, social shifts, and ecological pressures. Their longevity is a profound testament to a deeply embedded understanding of resilience, a how-to guide for sustainable living written in the very fabric of their societies. What was the secret to their incredible staying power? It wasn't a rigid, top-down control, but rather a flexible, adaptive strategy deeply rooted in their ecological knowledge. Their decentralized governance structures, often characterized by smaller, interconnected communities rather than vast empires, allowed for quicker adaptation to localized challenges. When one area faced a drought, others could share resources through their extensive trade networks. When floods came, their raised fields and water management systems ensured continued food production. The consistent enrichment of terra preta soil meant their agricultural base never wore out, providing a continuous foundation for sustenance that contrasts sharply with the extractive practices of later societies. Moreover, their entire way of life was predicated on a fundamental respect for the limits of their environment. They didn't aim for infinite growth on a finite planet. Instead, they sought balance, integrating human needs with the regenerative capacities of the rainforest. Their architecture, made from local, renewable materials, left little lasting ecological footprint. Their food systems were diverse and robust, reducing vulnerability to single crop failures. They embodied a slow, deliberate form of progress, learning from generations of accumulated wisdom and passing it down through intricate social structures and oral traditions. The collapse of many of these societies only truly began with the catastrophic introduction of Old World diseases and the brutal disruptions of colonization, not from inherent flaws in their sustainable design. Their resilience offers a stark counterpoint to our contemporary struggles, proving that urban living can be a partnership with the planet, a symbiotic dance that allows both nature and humanity to flourish for untold generations. As we grapple with the urgent challenges of climate change and resource depletion, the quest for sustainable urban living has become a global imperative. The modern answer to this challenge is often envisioned as the eco-city, gleaming, high-tech metropolises, engineered for efficiency and sustainability. These are cities built on the promise of innovation, designed to minimize their footprint through smart grids, renewable energy, and cutting-edge architectural marvels. They represent our current technological apex, a vision of the future that is often sleek, digitally optimized, and aggressively modern. Think of projects like Masdar City in Abu Dhabi, a zero-carbon ambition born from an oil-rich nation, or Songdo International Business District in South Korea, boasting smart sensors everywhere, from waste disposal to traffic management. These cities champion vertical farms that promise to feed millions using minimal land, buildings with living walls that purify air, and transport systems powered by electricity or even hydrogen. They are often characterized by towering glass and steel structures, intricate public transport networks, and a relentless focus on data and optimization. The underlying philosophy is that technology, intelligently applied, can solve our environmental woes, allowing us to maintain our urbanized lifestyles with a cleaner conscience. It's a vision of control, precision, and efficiency, where every kilowatt, every liter of water, every waste product is meticulously monitored and managed through digital interfaces. This high-tech approach promises a utopian future where environmental impact is engineered out of existence. These are testaments to human ingenuity in the realm of engineering and digital integration, aiming to redefine what a green city can be. They represent a significant global investment in a particular solution, a solution that emphasizes human dominion over nature through technological prowess. But as we shall see, this shiny, futuristic facade often conceals a deeper, more complex truth, one that the ancient Amazonians understood intimately. True sustainability is not just about what you build, but how you build it, and the fundamental relationship you forge with the planet. The gleaming towers and smart grids of modern eco-cities present a powerful image of a sustainable future. Yet, beneath their green veneer lies a sobering reality. Their construction and maintenance often come with significant, hidden environmental costs. While these cities aim to be eco-friendly in operation, the journey to their creation is frequently paved with intensive resource extraction, energy-hungry manufacturing processes, and vast, carbon-heavy transportation networks that often stretch across the globe. This high-tech dream, ironically, often overlooks its own profound ecological footprint. Consider the raw materials, the colossal amounts of concrete, steel, glass, and rare earth minerals required to build these architectural marvels and power their digital nervous systems. Each component, from the structural beams to the microchips in a smart sensor, has a life cycle that begins with extractive industries, mines scarring landscapes, factories belching emissions, and vast quantities of water consumed in manufacturing. The metals for wiring, the silicon for solar panels, the lithium for batteries, all extracted from fragile ecosystems, often far from the construction site, then processed and shipped thousands of miles using fossil fuels. This intricate global supply chain is rarely factored into the shiny eco-friendly calculations, creating an invisible, yet massive, burden on the planet. Unlike the ancient Amazonians, who built their cities from the living, regenerative materials of their immediate environment, earth, wood, and plant fibers, modern eco-cities are monuments to industrial might. Their reliance on globalized supply chains means that even as they aim to reduce local emissions, they are contributing to environmental degradation and carbon output on a global scale. The promise of a green future through purely technological means can blind us to the foundational principle of sustainability, living within the means of your local ecosystem. The hidden costs of the modern eco-city reveal a paradox. A solution designed to save the planet often begins by placing immense pressure on it, forcing us to ask whether green is truly green or simply a shift in where the environmental burden is born. This fundamental disconnect between ambition and actual impact is a critical challenge for our modern quest for sustainable urbanism. For centuries, our prevailing urban philosophy has treated nature as something external, a wild force to be tamed, contained, or at best, admired from a distance. Even as modern cities strive for eco-friendly status, a fundamental disconnect persists. We see in the meticulously curated green walls clinging to glass skyscrapers, the manicured rooftop gardens perched atop concrete monoliths, and the carefully delineated city. Parks, vital oases, yet often conceived as add-ons, aesthetic amenities to soften the harsh edges of steel and concrete. These are admirable efforts, indeed, born from a growing environmental consciousness. but they represent a paradigm where nature is an ornament, an architectural flourish applied onto urban structures, rather than an operating principle integrated within and as the very fabric of the city. Contrast this with the revelations emerging from the Amazon. Here, ancient urban planners didn't add green spaces, they were the green space. Their cities didn't simply feature parks, they were living ecosystems, intricately woven tapestries of human habitation and vibrant biodiversity. Imagine settlements where the boundary between cultivated land, wild forest, and human dwelling was fluid, permeable, where winding waterways, engineered for both transport and agriculture, were not merely conduits but arteries of life, teeming with fish and fringed by diverse plant species, where every structure, every pathway, every clearing was positioned in deep deference to the natural rhythms and existing ecology of the rainforest. This wasn't just about aesthetics. It was a profound partnership. The forest wasn't just a backdrop. It was the infrastructure. The rivers weren't just resources. They were collaborators. For these ancient Amazonians, nature wasn't an amenity to be enjoyed. It was the co-creator, the foundational partner in an astonishingly resilient urban experiment. Their very existence was predicated on understanding and enhancing, rather than dominating, the ecosystem around them. This fundamental difference in philosophy between nature as city and nature and city begins to unveil the depth of their ecological genius, setting the stage for how their lost cities truly outsmart our most ambitious modern attempts at sustainable living. Today, our drive for zero waste is an ambitious, often Herculean task. We invest billions in intricate recycling plants, where discarded plastics, metals, and papers undergo complex sorting and processing. We explore waste-to-energy facilities, incinerating refuse to generate power, wrestling with the sheer volume of our consumption. These systems, for all their technological sophistication, are attempts to mitigate the consequences of a linear economy, a take, make, dispose model that inevitably generates vast mountains of waste. It's a testament to our ingenuity, yet it often feels like we're perpetually running to catch up with our own ecological footprint. Now, journey back in time, deep into the Amazonian garden cities, and confront a radical alternative, a world where the concept of waste, as we understand it, simply didn't exist. For these ancient civilizations, every byproduct, every discarded element, was viewed not as refuse, but as a resource awaiting its next iteration in a continuous, elegant cycle. The most tangible evidence of this profound circularity lies beneath our feet, terra preta, or Amazonian dark earth. This isn't naturally occurring soil. It is a meticulously engineered supersoil, often over a meter deep, rich in charcoal, pottery shards, bone fragments, and organic matter, the waste of millennia of human habitation. Yet, rather than polluting, these components transformed barren soils into incredibly fertile land, capable of sustaining intensive agriculture year after year, generation after generation, without depletion. It was a closed-loop system of astonishing efficiency. Imagine, plant matter, food scraps, even human and animal byproducts, weren't hauled away. They were carefully managed, composted, and layered back into the earth, actively creating the very foundation for future harvests. Pottery shards, far from being junk, became essential for soil aeration and microbial activity. The fires that cooked food left behind charcoal, which, when incorporated into the soil, created a sponge-like structure that locked in nutrients and moisture for centuries. This wasn't merely recycling. It was ecological alchemy. The ancient Amazonians didn't just aspire to zero waste. They achieved a regenerative circularity where every output became an input, where the city didn't just coexist with nature, but actively enriched it. Their cities were not just sustainable. They were generative, leaving behind a legacy of fertile land that continues to nourish life today, offering a humbling lesson in true ecological stewardship. Modern urban expansion, almost by definition, often comes at the cost of biodiversity. Sprawling concrete replaces diverse ecosystems. Monoculture lawns dominate green spaces, and the intricate web of life is fragmented, leading to significant declines in plant and animal species. Even in our green cities, supporting native biodiversity remains a critical, often uphill battle. We install bird boxes, plant pollinator gardens, and create wildlife corridors, admirable efforts to stem the tide, but often reactive, struggling against the homogenizing forces of conventional development. But what if a city could enhance biodiversity? What if urbanism wasn't a threat to ecological richness, but a catalyst for it? This is precisely what recent archaeological and paleoecological studies suggest about ancient Amazonian garden cities. Their land management practices weren't just about food production. They were about fostering an explosion of life. Imagine vast agroforestry systems, not simply fields of single crops, but multi-layered, polycultural environments mirroring the complexity of the rainforest itself. Different species of fruit trees, medicinal plants, staple crops, and nitrogen-fixing legumes would have been grown together at various heights, creating diverse microclimates and habitats for countless insects, birds, and small mammals. This sophisticated stacking of agriculture, sometimes extending for miles, didn't just yield food, it created thriving ecological niches, turning cultivated land into a biodiversity hotspot. Beyond agroforestry, their sophisticated water management systems, networks of canals, raised fields, and fish ponds would have also played a crucial role. These wasn't just for irrigation. They were designed to attract and support aquatic life, waterfowl, and myriad riparian species, further enriching the local ecosystem. By actively selecting and cultivating a vast array of useful species, and by creating diverse habitats through their intentional landscape modifications, these ancient urban dwellers effectively sculpted an environment more biodiverse than a purely untouched forest might have been in some areas. Their cities weren't just sustainably integrated into nature. They were active partners in its enrichment, demonstrating a forgotten principle. The human habitation, far from diminishing biodiversity, can be a profound force for its enhancement. Their legacy isn't just fertile soil. It's a testament to urbanism as an engine of ecological flourishing. The contemporary approach to urban planning, particularly for eco-cities, often follows a distinct trajectory. Brilliant architects and urban planners, often from distant institutions, conceptualize grand designs. These master plans are meticulously drafted, presented to stakeholders, and then, from the top down, implemented for the populations who will eventually inhabit them. While well-intentioned and often groundbreaking, this model can sometimes overlook the intimate, nuanced needs of local communities, struggling to fully integrate generational wisdom or adapt organically to evolving social and environmental realities. Yet, the lost garden cities of the Amazon whisper a different narrative, one of organic, community-driven development, evolving not from blueprints, but from generations of lived experience and deep local knowledge. Imagine settlements that weren't simply built, but grew like the rainforest itself. Each addition, each modification, each new clearing or constructed mound was likely a collective endeavor, rooted in communal decision-making and an intimate understanding of the immediate environment. The layout of homes, the placement of agricultural plots, the trajectory of causeways, all would have been informed by ancestral wisdom passed down through oral tradition, by the intricate patterns of the local climate, by the cycles of the river, and by the social structures of the community itself. Over centuries, these cities would have adapted and diversified, each generation adding its layer of ingenuity and insight, guided by practical necessity and shared values. This wasn't a stata plan, it was a living, breathing process. Archaeological evidence supports this view, revealing how ancient earthworks, monumental in scale, were often built incrementally by countless hands, reflecting a sustained communal effort over vast stretches of time. These were not the sudden imposition of a single vision, but the patient, collective unfolding of a shared landscape. This bottom-up approach, where inhabitants were not passive recipients but active co-creators of their urban environment, fostered a profound sense of ownership and resonance. It ensured that the cities were not just functional, but deeply attuned to the specific needs, cultural practices, and spiritual values of their people. It is a powerful reminder that true resilience and sustainability often arise not from expert pronouncements, but from the cumulative wisdom and active participation of those who call a place home. For societies to build and sustain complex urban environments over millennia, especially one so intricately entwined with their ecosystems, requires more than just advanced engineering or agricultural techniques. It demands a sophisticated social fabric, robust systems of governance, equity, and decision-making that can ensure cohesion, resolve conflict, and guide collective action. In our modern context, urban governance is often characterized by hierarchical structures, complex bureaucracies, and diverse political systems, frequently grappling with issues of social inequality and equitable resource distribution. How, then, did the ancient Amazonian garden cities manage themselves? While direct written records are absent, archaeological inference, coupled with the profound insights drawn from contemporary indigenous cultures like the Kikuro, paints a compelling picture of likely decentralized governance structures. Imagine communities where decision-making wasn't concentrated in a single, distant capital, but was rooted in communal consensus at the village or lineage level. Power, rather than being exerted from above, would have flowed through networks of respected elders, shamans, and leaders chosen for their wisdom, experience, and ability to mediate. These systems likely prioritized social cohesion and equity, ensuring that resources, the bountiful harvest from the agroforests, the fish from the rivers, the materials for housing, were distributed fairly, preventing the extreme disparities that often plague contemporary urban centers. Environmental management, crucial for their survival, wouldn't have been a separate policy initiative but an intrinsic part of daily life and governance. Decisions about land use, water allocation, and resource harvesting would have been made communally, informed by generations of ecological knowledge and a deep understanding of the land's carrying capacity. This city was not just a collection of structures. It was a complex social organism, where every member played a role and collective well-being was paramount. This isn't to romanticize. All societies have challenges. But the very endurance of these garden cities, their ability to thrive in a delicate ecosystem for hundreds, even thousands of years, speaks volumes about the efficacy of their social organization. It suggests a form of urbanism where social justice and ecological balance were not competing ideals, but interdependent pillars, woven into the very fabric of their communal existence and guiding their every decision about how to live with and within their extraordinary environment. Modern cities, for all their marvels, often rely on highly centralized systems. A single power plant supplies electricity to millions. A vast water treatment facility pipes potable water across an entire metropolis. A few key transportation hubs link an entire region. While efficient in theory, this centralization creates critical vulnerabilities. A single point of failure, a power outage, a contaminated water source, a blocked highway, can cascade into widespread disruption, paralyzing an entire urban area and profoundly impacting millions. Our interconnectedness in this model can become our greatest weakness, making resilience a constant challenge. In stark contrast, the ancient Amazonian garden cities embodied a profound understanding of decentralized systems and modularity, long before these terms entered modern urban planning lexicon. Rather than relying on singular, vulnerable central systems, their settlements were comprised of numerous, often redundant, localized networks for essential services. Imagine a city where food wasn't shipped from vast, distant monoculture farms, but grown in countless, distributed agroforestry plots immediately surrounding each cluster of homes. If one plot failed, or one area faced a localized shock, myriad others would continue to provide sustenance. Water was likely collected and managed locally, through rainwater harvesting, small-scale irrigation from nearby streams, or engineered ponds, rather than being piped from a single distant reservoir. This modularity meant that if one water source became contaminated or failed, other independent sources could continue to supply the community. These ancient cities were mosaics of self-sufficient or semi-self-sufficient units, interconnected but not entirely dependent on a single central hub. This distributed approach provided extraordinary resilience against environmental shocks, a flood impacting one area, a localized drought, or even social disruptions. The knowledge and technology required for these systems were often simple, replicable, and universally accessible within the community, empowering individual households and small groups to manage their own resources. This wasn't just practical. It was a testament to urban planning that prioritized robustness over monumental scale. By distributing critical functions, these ancient Amazonian cities built in layers of redundancy and adaptability, offering enduring lessons in how to design truly robust, anti-fragile urban environments capable of weathering the unpredictable forces of nature and time. Their legacy reminds us that strength often lies not in consolidation, but in distributed, resilient networks. In the modern world, our planning horizons are often tragically short. Political cycles rarely extend beyond a few years. Corporate strategies are driven by quarterly reports, and economic models frequently prioritize immediate profit over long-term planetary health. The consequences are stark: unsustainable resource depletion, mounting waste, and environmental degradation that future generations will inherit. We often speak of sustainability, yet our actions betray a fundamental struggle to genuinely plan beyond our own lifespan, let alone for the distant future. But for the ancient civilizations of the Amazon, time was measured not in quarters or election terms, but in the unfolding of generations. Their urbanism was underpinned by a profound intergenerational perspective, a principle often articulated by indigenous peoples as planning for 7 generations. This wasn't merely a philosophical ideal. It was a deeply embedded practice that shaped every decision, every modification to the landscape, every act of cultivation. Imagine leaders and communities asking themselves, with every planting, every construction, every innovation, how will this impact my great-great-great-great-grandchildren? Their legacy, the enduring terra preta soils, the resilient agroforestry systems, the very structure of their garden cities, stands as monumental proof of this long-term vision. They invested immense effort in practices that would only yield full benefits far beyond their own lifetimes, enriching soils that would feed countless future inhabitants, cultivating trees that would mature over decades, and designing water systems that would function for centuries. This wasn't just about survival. It was about stewardship, a sacred responsibility to ensure the well-being and prosperity of descendants 7 generations into the future. It's a stark contrast to our current predicament, where the consequences of our actions are often externalized onto an undefined future. The Amazonian garden cities teach us that true sustainability isn't just about minimizing harm in the present. It's about actively creating conditions for flourishing far into the distant future. It requires a fundamental shift in perspective, moving beyond immediate gratification towards a profound ancestral commitment to the planet and to those yet to come. Their cities were not just built for their inhabitants. They were built for the future itself, a living testament to a wisdom we desperately need to reclaim. For centuries, the wisdom of the ancient Amazonian garden cities lay buried, dismissed as myth or anomaly. Yet, their principles have never truly vanished. In the heart of the Brazilian Xingu Indigenous Park, a remarkable community offers us a living bridge to these ancient traditions, the Kikuro people. Their contemporary villages and land management practices are not mere echoes of the past. They are vibrant, breathing embodiments of the very eco-urbanism we've been uncovering, offering invaluable insights into the enduring wisdom of their ancestors. The Kikuro live in large, meticulously planned circular villages, a striking feature echoed in many ancient Amazonian settlements. Their homes, often spacious communal structures, radiate outwards from a central plaza, fostering both social cohesion and a clear sense of order. Surrounding these villages are not barren fields, but sophisticated agroforestry systems that mirror the biodiversity enhancement strategies of their forebears. They cultivate a vast array of species: manioc, peppers, various fruit trees, intertwined with medicinal plants and forest species, ensuring both food security and ecological richness. Their deep understanding of the forest, passed down through generations, allows them to manage resources sustainably, selectively harvesting without depleting the intricate web of life. Crucially, the Kikuro exemplify the community-driven design and decentralized systems we've explored. Every aspect of their village life, from the planting of crops to the construction of homes, is a collective endeavor guided by communal decision-making and a profound respect for the land. They are living proof that sophisticated, sustainable urbanism doesn't require high-tech solutions, but rather a deep, respectful partnership with nature and a strong, equitable social fabric. Their relationship with the rivers, for example, extends beyond mere resource extraction. They maintain fish weirs, ingeniously constructed fences that allow young fish to pass through, ensuring future populations, a tangible example of their long-term thinking. The Kikuro are not merely surviving, they are thriving, demonstrating that human communities can live in profound harmony with one of the planet's most delicate and vital ecosystems. Their vibrant culture, their circular villages, their rich agroforests, and their communal governance are not relics of a lost past. They are a living, breathing testament to an ancient intelligence that, far from being surpassed, continues to outsmart many of our modern attempts at building sustainable cities. They remind us that the lost garden cities were not just archaeological wonders. They represent an enduring, powerful legacy of how humanity can truly partner with nature, offering a pathway to a more resilient and flourishing future for all. For too long, our ambition for ecological balance has been limited to sustainability, a noble goal, certainly, of merely doing less harm. But what if we've been aiming too low? What if ancient civilizations, thousands of years before our Industrial Revolution, had already charted a course far beyond mere sustaining? The discoveries within the Amazon reveal a truth far more profound, a model of regenerative design, where human activity didn't just coexist with nature, it actively enhanced it. Imagine sprawling urban centers that weren't scars on the landscape, but integral, thriving parts of the forest ecosystem. This was the reality of the Amazonian garden cities. Their architects understood the intricate web of life, not as something to be overcome, but as a blueprint to be mimicked and amplified. Their crowning achievement, Terra Preta, or Amazonian Dark Earth, stands as a testament to this ingenuity. For millennia, these societies systematically enriched vast swathes of infertile soil, transforming it into carbon-rich, hyperfertile ground that could sustain intensive agriculture year after year, century after century, without depletion. We're not talking about simply not damaging the earth. We're talking about creating new, ecologically superior soil. These were not transient settlements. Cultures like the Xingu peoples cultivated complex agroforestry systems, designing what we might call food forests that dramatically increased biodiversity, productivity, and resilience. They managed water systems with astonishing precision, creating networks of canals, raised fields, and fish ponds that supported dense populations while simultaneously mitigating floods and enhancing aquatic life. Imagine entire landscapes designed to capture carbon, generate food, prevent erosion, and foster biodiversity, all simultaneously. This wasn't primitive farming. It was an advanced form of ecological engineering, a symbiotic relationship where human activity spurred a flourishing of life. Their cities were dynamic living systems, demonstrating a wisdom that goes far beyond our modern understanding of green architecture. They weren't just living in nature. They were living as nature, understanding that true progress meant becoming an active, positive force within the intricate dance of the ecosystem. This wasn't sustainability. It was active regeneration, an active contribution to the flourishing of the planet, a model that sustained thriving urban populations for thousands of years. Yet, even as we unearth these astonishing blueprints for a regenerative future, the very landscapes that hold them, and the cultures that still echo their wisdom, face an existential threat. The Amazon, once a symbol of an untouched wilderness, is now a front line in our global environmental crisis. The irony is stark. While ancient Amazonians meticulously cultivated a thriving, biodiverse environment, modern humanity is systematically dismantling it at an unprecedented pace. Every minute, an area of rainforest the size of several football fields is destroyed. This isn't just loss, it's an ecological amputation. Vast tracts of forest are cleared for cattle ranching, the demand for beef driving a relentless expansion that leaves behind scorched earth and ecological deserts. Illegal gold mining contaminates vital rivers with mercury, poisoning the water, the fish, and the communities who rely on them. Logging operations carve deep, irreversible wounds into the ancient canopy, while soy plantations stretch for hundreds of miles, monocultures replacing the incredible biodiversity of the forest. This relentless assault doesn't just destroy trees. It obliterates the intricate web of life that took millennia to evolve, extinguishing species before we even knew they existed. But the destruction extends far beyond the biological. It is a profound cultural loss. The indigenous peoples of the Amazon, direct descendants of these master builders and ecological engineers, are being displaced, their ancestral lands invaded, their traditional ways of life threatened with extinction. Their languages, their plant knowledge, their spiritual connection to the land, the living library of ancient wisdom that we so desperately need, is being silenced. We are burning not just a forest, but a vast compendium of knowledge, a potential roadmap for our own survival. The very lessons of regenerative living, so meticulously preserved in the soil and the stories of the forest, are being consumed by fire and avarice, their ashes scattered by the winds of short-sighted progress. The urgency is undeniable. The consequences, if we fail to act, are irreversible. Amidst this relentless destruction, a beacon of hope endures, the indigenous peoples of the Amazon. They are not merely victims of environmental collapse. They are the last, most vital custodians of ancient wisdom we are only just beginning to rediscover. For generations, they have maintained a profound, unbroken connection to these lands, carrying forward the ecological intelligence of their ancestors. From the Yanomami of the north to the Munduraku of the Tapajos Basin, these communities possess a traditional ecological knowledge, a TEK, that is invaluable. It is a living encyclopedia of the forest, which plants heal, which provides sustenance, how to manage diverse ecosystems for maximum yield and resilience, how to live symbiotically with every creature and every tree. They understand the cycles of the rivers, the language of the animals, the intricate relationships that sustain the entire biome. Their spirituality is inextricably linked to the health of the land. For them, the forest is not just a resource. It is family. It is sacred. Their very identities are woven into its fabric. We hear the words of Davi Kopenawa Yanomami, a shaman and leader who speaks of the land as our supermarket, our pharmacy, our school, our home. His voice and the voices of countless others are a desperate plea, not just for their survival, but for the survival of the planet. They are actively fighting on the front lines, risking their lives to protect their demarcated territories from invaders, logging mafias, and illegal miners. They patrol their borders, document deforestation, and engage in tireless advocacy on the international stage. Their ancestral territories, often demarcated by indigenous communities themselves, are proven to be the most effective barriers against deforestation, outperforming even national parks in many areas. Their struggle is not just for themselves. It is a fight for the genetic diversity of the Earth, for the carbon sinks that regulate our climate, and for the wisdom that might yet guide us toward a truly regenerative future. We ignore these voices at our peril, for they are the living memory of how humanity once thrived in harmony with the wild heart of our planet. The wisdom of the Amazonian garden cities, once dismissed as primitive, is now inspiring a new generation of thinkers, scientists, and urban planners. How can we translate these ancient blueprints for sustainable coexistence into tangible solutions for our modern world? The answer lies in a radical reimagining of our relationship with nature, informed by millennia of ecological success. From the principles of terra preta, scientists are exploring biochar, charcoal added to soil as a potent tool for carbon sequestration and soil regeneration globally. Researchers are developing new methods to turn waste biomass into stable carbon, mimicking the ancient process to revitalize degraded lands, proving that what was once ancient knowledge can be cutting-edge science. The complex agroforestry of the Xingu is directly influencing modern permaculture design, guiding farmers and gardeners to create multi-layered, diverse food systems that are more productive, resilient, and biodiverse than conventional monocultures. We see projects in Europe, North America, and across the developing world adopting these principles, transforming sterile farmlands into thriving food forests, reducing water usage, and increasing natural fertility. But the lessons extend beyond agriculture. Regenerative urban planning initiatives are emerging, where cities are designed not just with green spaces, but as living ecosystems that manage their own water, produce their own food, and enhance local biodiversity. The concept of sponge cities, designing urban environments to absorb and filter rainwater, preventing floods and recharging aquifers, echoes the ancient Amazonian mastery of water management. Architects and engineers are turning to biomimicry, looking at the natural forms and processes of the forest for inspiration, designing buildings and infrastructure that breathe, adapt, and integrate seamlessly with their environment. These modern innovations, directly inspired by the enduring legacy of Amazonian eco-urbanism, offer a powerful antidote to our current ecological crisis, proving that the lost garden cities are not just historical curiosities, but living laboratories of solutions for our future. The revelations from the Amazon force us to confront a fundamental question. What does advanced truly mean? For centuries, Western thought has equated progress with technological innovation, industrial growth, and the ability to dominate nature. Yet, when we compare our modern trajectory with the thousands of years of sustainable thriving in the Amazon, our definitions begin to crumble. We, in our advanced industrial societies, have achieved unprecedented material wealth, yet we stand on the brink of environmental collapse, facing climate change, mass extinction, and resource depletion. We marvel at our skyscrapers and superhighways, while the Amazonians built cities that fed millions without ever depleting their soil or polluting their rivers. Our industrial revolution, barely 300 years old, has wrought more environmental destruction than all prior human history combined. The Amazonian civilizations, some flourishing for over 1,500 years before Columbus, sustained complex urban networks, developed sophisticated agriculture, and crafted rich cultures, all while actively enriching their environment. They left behind not mountains of waste, but fertile earth. They managed complex societies without an energy grid, without plastic, without a global supply chain reliant on fossil fuels. Perhaps the true measure of an advanced civilization isn't its capacity to conquer nature, but its ability to live in enduring harmony with it. Is a society that creates vast wealth for some, while simultaneously destroying the planetary life support systems truly advanced? Or is a society that can sustain vibrant communities and rich culture for millennia, ensuring the well-being of future generations and their ecosystem, the truly evolved model? The Amazonian garden cities challenge us to question our own hubris, to shed the illusion of technological supremacy, and to consider that perhaps the most profound advancements lie not in speed or scale, but in wisdom, longevity, and respect for the intricate balance of life. They compel us to ask, if our progress leads to ruin, is it progress at all? At the heart of Amazonian eco-urbanism lies a profound, yet often overlooked, principle, the power of place. These ancient societies didn't apply a one-size-fits-all solution. They cultivated an intimate, generation-spanning understanding of their specific local ecosystems. They knew the nuances of the soils, the rhythms of the rivers, the specific species of flora and fauna that thrived in their particular corner of the vast Amazon. Their garden cities were not imported models, but organically grown expressions of their environment. This is perhaps the most enduring lesson for our global future. True sustainability isn't about universal green technologies or standardized solutions. It's about deep ecological literacy, about listening to the land, responding to its unique characteristics, and allowing solutions to emerge from the specific context of a place. A desert environment demands different strategies than a rainforest. A coastal community requires different innovations than a mountain village. The Amazonian builders understood that nature's genius lies in its diversity, its myriad localized adaptations. They weren't fighting the Amazon. They were collaborating with it, learning from its inherent wisdom to design cities that flourished within its specific ecological parameters. Today, this means empowering local communities, valuing indigenous knowledge, and fostering a deep sense of connection to our immediate surroundings. It calls for architects to design with local materials, farmers to grow indigenous crops, and urban planners to respect local hydrology and biodiversity. It means abandoning the colonial mindset of imposing solutions and instead cultivating solutions from the ground up, tailored to the unique climate, culture, and ecology of each region. The legacy of Amazon's lost garden cities whispers a powerful truth, that our most innovative and resilient futures will not be found in global uniformity, but in the celebration of local genius, in a nuanced understanding that the health of the planet begins with the health of our own place, our own ecosystem. It's in this wisdom of place that humanity can truly find its way back to a regenerative relationship with the earth. We have journeyed far beyond the myth of an untouched wilderness, venturing deep into the heart of a reimagined Amazon. Here, amidst the verdant embrace of the rainforest, we've uncovered a breathtaking truth. The ancient Amazonians were not merely inhabitants, but masterful architects of vast, sophisticated garden cities. For millennia, they cultivated abundance, engineered fertile lands, and built resilient societies that stand as powerful testaments to a profound integration with nature. Their genius didn't just survive the test of time. It thrived, challenging our most fundamental assumptions about both ancient history and the very essence of sustainable urbanism. The methods of these long-lost civilizations didn't just outsmart the challenges of their own era. In many ways, they outshine and outsmart the very eco-cities we strive to build today. Their legacy offers us far more than just archaeological marvels. It provides a living blueprint for a truly regenerative future. It whispers of a path where humanity isn't separate from nature, but an integral, harmonizing force. The profound wisdom embedded in their engineered landscapes and ancestral knowledge holds vital keys for our planet's future. The challenge now is to listen to the whispers of the past, to the enduring wisdom of indigenous cultures, and to the urgent call of our planet. It's time to reimagine our relationship with Earth, not as conquerors, but as humble, responsible gardeners of our own shared home.